Scientists say our forests are changing due to changes in the climate. That's why researchers from around the world are taking trees from drier, warmer climates and putting them in areas like this, hopefully to help forests adapt for the future. You can learn a lot about our environment just by following scientists and researchers into the forest for a few hours.
So we'll start here in block 2. We'll look at the control a little bit.
Tony D'Amato took us and a couple researchers from other countries to sites where they are testing practices to enhance forest resilience.
Yeah, it's a jungle here. We're basically the location for one of the 11 installations of what's known as the Adaptive Silviculture for Climate Change experiment.
It's 400 acres broken up into sections. The first area is the control.
So we're really just observing how does climate change affect the forest.
The second is focused on resistance, and the third is managing for resilience.
The seedlings are branching close to the collar. We don't like that. We don't want this guy.
One way is to diversify the species, trying to have that diversity of species that when there's a stress event, they can respond.
The fourth is transition, which uses assisted migration where they take plants from other environments.
We're taking tree species that, if they could walk, might say, hey, my climate is now 50 miles north, I'm going to go there and now exist there. That includes sometimes planting species that aren't currently here, that we know are likely to be better adapted to future climates.
They've planted red oak, white pine, big-tooth aspen, which may not seem like a big deal to you, but Tony says this is the most controversial part of the project. The goal is to introduce these species to certain areas to see how they might help the overall ecosystem, not to let them completely take over.
It might be 100 years before oak would get here, but climate's changing so much faster, and so the idea is, can we get some of these species here now? And so this is from a nursery as well in Michigan. So it's an aspen species a little bit better adapted to dry conditions.
Forests are on the move. In fact, everything that's alive is on the move to get out of the heat right now.
Ari Bernstein directs the Center for Climate, Health, and Global Environment at Harvard University. He says as forests change, it could have an impact on everything from allergies to diseases to water supply and fire danger.
We know that the movement of forests and all the species in them has direct consequences for people, because in those forests live creatures that matter to infections we might get. So a good example here in New England is Lyme disease. The experiment in New Hampshire is a really important one to look at because it reflects the kind of choices we are making already and will increasingly have to make with climate change.
Whenever you get into a forest with a forester's view, you learn something.
Tony says the purpose of this project is not to re-engineer entire forests.
The real key end goal is that we're developing kind of actionable adaptation practices that managers and others can use on the ground to deal with climate change.
I'm Chloe Nordquist reporting.